Prior to November's midterm elections, voters in 5 states will elect candidates for congressional seats, governorships, and other high-profile offices. Donald Trump's effort to play Republican kingmaker faces fresh challenges on Tuesday. The Republican candidates for governor in Arizona and Michigan who have embraced the former president's false claims of voter fraud could win nominations, even as some in their party worry they may be too extreme. Kansas voters will decide whether to amend the state constitution to allow the Republican-controlled legislature to ban or limit abortion, the first such ballot initiative since the U.S. Supreme Court eliminated the nationwide right to abortion in June. Peter Meijer of Michigan and Jamie Herrera Butler of Washington, 2 Republican representatives who voted to impeach Trump after the assault on the Capitol by his supporters on January 6, 2021, are also facing Trump-endorsed primary challenges. In a Monday opinion piece, Meijer criticized Democrats for running ads to boost his far-right opponent after warning that such candidates are dangerous, part of a risky strategy to increase Democrats' chances in November. Just 37% of Americans approve of President Joe Biden's job performance in an economy on the verge of recession and inflation surging. It weighs heavily on Democrats heading into the November general election, in which Republicans are expected to take control of the House of Representatives and perhaps the Senate as well. If Republicans controlled either chamber, they could stymie Biden's legislative agenda and conduct politically damaging hearings. Democrats have also been dealt a spate of policy defeats by the heavily conservative Supreme Court, particularly on abortion, that they were powerless to stop even with control of Congress and the White House. Trump endorsements. Over 100 candidates have been endorsed by Trump this year as he continues to flirt with the possibility of running for president again in 2024. The majority of his races are safe bets, incumbent Republicans in conservative districts, but even in competitive races he has won. Nominees backed by Trump have won Republican primaries for Senate in Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina and Ohio, though his picks lost nominating contests for Georgia governor and for U.S. House in South Carolina. Trump remains really popular with Republican primary voters. "I don't think you can underestimate how he has remade the party in his image," said Alex Conant, a Republican strategist. Republicans who run against Trump tend to get trampled. On Tuesday, Arizona voters will pick between Trump-backed gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake and Karen Taylor Robson, who has the backing of Trump's former vice president, Mike Pence. Lake, a former news anchor, echoes Trump's false claims that his 2020 election defeat was the result of fraud and has said she would not have certified Biden's statewide victory in 2020. At a recent campaign stop, Lake claimed without evidence that fraud has already occurred during early voting, suggesting she may not accept a defeat on Tuesday. The race for Secretary of State, the state's top election official, also includes a Trump-endorsed candidate, State Representative Mark Finchem. Finchem, who was present at Trump's January 6, 2021, speech in Washington that preceded the U.S. Capitol attack, wrote on Twitter on Thursday, "Trump won," prompting a Democratic candidate, Adrian Fontes, to call him a traitor. Arizona Republicans will also pick a challenger to take on Democratic U.S. Senator Mark Kelly, seen as one of the most vulnerable Democratic incumbents. Blake Masters, a former tech executive who has backed Trump's false fraud claims, has Trump's endorsement and the backing of tech billionaire Peter Thiel. He is leading in polls against Jim Lamon, a former power company executive, and Attorney General Mark Brnovich, whom Trump blames for not reversing Biden's 2020 statewide victory. Chuck Coughlin, a veteran Republican strategist in Arizona, said there's no doubt that candidates such as Lake and Finchem will have a harder time winning in November. He said he conducted a recent poll that found 2/3 of Republican voters believed the 2020 election had serious integrity problems. However, the general electorate will be quite different. To win a statewide election in Arizona, you have to win unaffiliated voters, he said. Those people do not like Trump. In Missouri, former Governor Eric Greitens, who resigned in the midst of sexual assault and campaign finance fraud scandals, is seeking the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate despite calls from many within his party to withdraw out of concern that he might cost Republicans a safe seat in November. Having promised to endorse in that race, Trump on Monday recommended voters choose either Greitens or one of his rivals, State Attorney General Eric Schmidt, with a statement that simply endorsed Eric. In Michigan, a chaotic Republican campaign for governor will draw to a close, with several candidates vying for the right to take on Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who became a frequent target for conservatives after her aggressive approach to shutdowns during the COVID-19 pandemic. Trump last week endorsed former Republican commentator Tudor Dixon in the race. But at a rally this weekend in Troy, some Trump-supporting backers of one of Dixon's rivals, businessman Kevin Rinke, said they would not be swayed. One attendee, Steve Michelli, 57, said he voted for Trump twice but was sticking with Rinke. Honestly, I think his star is kind of fading, Michelli, a businessman from Royal Oak, Michigan, said of Trump, adding that he thought the January 6 committee's hearings had chipped away at Trump's power. It's his credibility. It's starting to fade.